Welcome back. This video will explain advanced searching techniques in HearForm Pro. Because we've covered find, search, or query techniques in other videos, this is going to be a very informal video that just kind of goes over some of the other find or search techniques that are a part of the system that we may not have covered. There may be some duplication. I've gone to the HearForm patient list here just as an example. I'm just going to go through a series of things and hopefully you'll pick up some tips here. Again, as you may have seen in other areas, I can right-click, for example, a word and find matching records, and there's everyone named Richard. So let's go back over to the tables area, and I can come to the hearing aid area, and I can right-click a word like find all Phonak products right here. There's all my Phonak products, and again, as you've seen other times, we can sort or arrange by that. If I want to right-click and find all my Solana products, then I can do that as well. You may not have seen that right-click menu because it was down a little bit low, but there you go. You can find all your all your Solana products there, and then all your CICs, etc. So let's go back now to the found patients area here. This is isolated, a group that I just isolated in a separate table called patient table, and these are all the Richards that I searched before. Again, almost any field, find everyone who has a salutation of Mr., and you can see the number up here by the circle pie chart. I'll call it the pie chart now, and that pie chart tells us there are 374 out of 968 total records that match that particular criteria. Again, you can sort or arrange by almost any field or a combination of fields. That was covered under a video on sorting or arranging records. So let's do some more advanced techniques. For example, if I wanted to find everybody who lived in Miami and also Tampa, then I can do a search. Let's just do it this way. I'll click here. That will put the program into find mode, and I'll enter Miami. Now if I just click perform find, let's see how many we get. It found Miami, but it also found Miami Beach, right? So if I do this equals Miami, we're going to get a similar result. It pulls up Miami and Miami Beach, and what that one equals sign does is that it basically matches the word. As long as the word is spelled Miami, exactly Miami, nothing else, that word, there can be a space and another word, but it's going to only find Miami that way. If I want to find only with two equal signs Miami, then watch what happens. I don't get any Miami Beach results here. And that's all done by entering the operator that we've talked about before. Okay, but let's continue, and I'm going to enter Miami, and now I want to add a new request. We may have covered this before, and we may want Homestead or something, a new request, and then we want Tampa. So now that we've done that, it's not case sensitive. Notice I didn't have a capital T here, and that's okay. So let's perform the find, and now we have Homestead, Tampa, and Miami, just like that. So you can search with this add a new request function, and it makes it easy then to search multiple criteria. If you go over 10 search criteria, you'll probably get a warning from FileMaker, and that's because they want to make sure that you know you're in find mode and you're not adding new records. Periodically, you might be thinking you're adding a new patient record or something in find mode, and you're actually adding new requests. So keep that in mind if you ever get a warning. Make sure that you're in find mode for a good reason. So let's do some additional searches. We've already covered operators pretty well in another video right there. And I think we've covered the include and omit, but I'm going to cover them briefly again here. So if I wanted to include everyone who has the last name with an S in it, it's already defaulted to the letter S. Then I could, and here's where it gets a little bit tricky, I could omit everyone whose first name starts with a particular letter or range. So let's do that. There are 83 people who have S somewhere in their name. And it may be that their last name has a two-part name, and one of the words is S and some aren't. So let's go ahead and look at that. I'm going to click the find button here, and then I'm going to narrow down my search by omitting everyone whose first name starts between A ... and just say L. So when I do that, I'm going to want to omit those patients, and then what I want to do is constrain my found set. I think we've covered that in another video as well, but I'm going to say take what I previously had, everybody whose last name has an S in it, And omit and constrain make smaller by omitting that group. Ask these people to leave the room. Let's see what we get. So now we have still a lot of S's in this area here. But over here, if we sort or arrange, we did a search A through L. And notice, you may say, why are there still some L's? Because Laurel is greater than L. If the name was just L, then it would have omitted it. But if you don't want your L's, you may want to say greater than M, if that makes sense. So clicking greater than or a range from A through L still includes anything that comes after L, which would be LA, LB, LC, etc. Hopefully that makes sense. So in other words, that omit button and that constrain button can help you to fine-tune things a little bit better. Let's go to another area of the program. I'm going to go to tables, and I'm going to go to the payments table and take a look at some of the payments that are here. So here we have a variety of different payment types and payment amount and that sort of thing. But I'm going to do a search here by clicking find, and I could say I want to find payment amounts from $1,000 to $2,000. Let's see if we get any hits, and we do, and all of these then fall into that criteria. So I'm searching a number field, in other words, so I can do that. So I used 3 periods, and that allowed me to search within a range. I can also say find anything less than $10. I don't know if I'll have any hits or not. We'll find out. And I did. Some of them are zeros, some of them are $750, etc. Some are negative amounts. So what I could do is I could say instead, find anything from 0.01 ... to 9.99. That's just another example. And then it gets rid of those zeros and gives me everything that I want right there. So that's just another technique for finding numbers. You probably already know that we can do a 2-part search here. And what I mean by that is not the add a new request, although we certainly can do that. But I could say, give me anything greater than $1,000 that was from a check, a payment type of check. That's what I meant right there. And actually I'll do credit card because I think I have more of those in there. And I can even add other criteria that say I only want between 2012, did I type that right, ... 2018 or some other range. And then I only want people who have some kind of a H or something, just to be silly. I'm just showing you that I can type in multiple fields, and this field here added the rest for me. See those asterisks that are there? Asterisk slash 2012 means January 1st, or any day in the year 2012 through any day in 2018. That means January 1st through December 31st, 2018. So I have 4 criteria here. Let's perform that fine. And in fact, now that matches that criteria. Now, keep in mind, somebody may have a last name with T, and I said A through H, but that's because the D is part of A through H. So now all of these patients are over $1,000. They're all credit cards, and it's just that easy to find that information. Let's go back to the home screen and look at something else here. This is a bit more complicated, but on the home screen I've changed a couple of hearing aids here, devices, to show 2 very different dates. This top device is a Phonak Audio purchased in 2019. The bottom device is a Beltone Supremo, which is a massive BTE with 8 trim pots, believe it or not, and that was purchased back in the 80s. Now, why would I put that on there? I want to show you that if you wanted to search for everyone who had a hearing aid that was older than a particular day, let's just do this. Find and put here, let's say less than 2000, the year 2000. Let's see what we get. So I found 1 record, and that's because this hearing aid here is before 2000. When you search on this screen, it's going to search every hearing aid for Jennifer. And that might not always be a good thing. If you want to find, for example, you wouldn't want to mark it to Jennifer just because she has a hearing aid that was so old. Instead, you only want to find the last hearing aid that was fit. Because if she was fit this year, you don't want to mark it to her necessarily again, right? So you do that in the search area right here. And then when I do a search like here, their last purchase or fit date, it was when their last purchase was, not any purchase, if that makes sense. So if I did a search for anything over 10 years, I guess I still get some hits here, But if I look at these carefully, I'll sort them here by their name. And looks like Jennifer's not there anymore because her last purchase was not in 1988. It was this year. And so it is important to see the difference. If you search on the home screen, there may have some value here. This one is a little over 10 years old, and so it came up appropriately. But we're not wanting to search if a patient has any hearing aid that was ever purchased before that date. We're looking for patients whose last hearing aid was purchased. And that's what these fields are here. Let me zoom in just a little bit better. So you can actually search these fields right here, although we have some memorized areas like right there that might be a bit easier. But you can actually search these fields and say, I want to find everybody whose last date purchased or fit. And I can even do it, I've separated these. You can't go into the fields in browse mode. They're not enterable. But in find mode, you can. So you could say, I want to find everybody whose last hearing aid was purchased in the month of 6 or June in the year of 2012. Well, let's see if we get that. And there are no records that match. Sorry about that. But let's just see if we have 2018. And let's perform that find. Well, I've got something wrong there. I'm going to modify that. I think I don't have any in June, but I'm going to just do a search for January and see what we get. And now I pull up 3. So as you can see, the information is there. Now this is a question mark because some unusual data is in that field. Let's go back to the home screen. Scroll out just a little bit and see down here, there's a question mark here. It says, it's good that we saw this error because if you put text into a date field, it can create a problem. You really only want an actual date in a date field. And then if we look back here under search, we don't have those question marks anymore. So if you ever see question marks, it may mean some invalid information is in that field. So again, these hearing aids that I just isolated would match that criteria. So just keep in mind that the search area will allow you to search for the last purchased or fit date, the last contact, although that's rarely used now since our scheduler allows you to search much easier. The last test date might have value. That's not, was the patient tested any time over 3 years ago, but when was their last test? Was it last week? Well, I don't want to see them again for maybe a year or whatever that is. The last warranty expires, not any of their old hearing aids, but I just want to see when their last warranty or last L&D expires, etc. So there's different ways of searching that information here. And as you may have seen before, let's just do this one more time. I'm going to do a search for 2012, anybody whose last hearing aid was purchased then. And I only want, although they wouldn't really be active, I could narrow it down and say I want them to be certain criteria just in my Boynton office and just a certain clinician. Let's perform the find. Wouldn't you know, I didn't get anything there. Maybe because they're users. Let's see if we do this. Nope. Well, let's just try it one more time. And we have 11 hits, but they're not users in Boynton Beach. They're just people who purchased who were in Boynton Beach in 2012. But I think, again, you get the idea there. So those are some techniques and tools for searching in more advanced ways. And look under the help area, if you'd like, under FileMaker Pro Advanced Help. And there are some areas there that will teach you how to do some very complex finds, not just to be complex, but to narrow down your search so you can be very specific in your targeted marketing. Anyway, thanks very much for taking the time to watch this longer video.